Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching the political vigilante making Gotham great again. Before I get into this real quick about how we're going to show a group that is testing to see which is better, Uber or a city-funded rideshare program, I just wanted to say I'm hitting the road doing Government Secrets live in Europe. October 5th, Lee Camp and I are doing Government Secrets in Berlin. And then October 12th, we're doing Government Secrets in London. Go to grahamelwood.com for tickets. And then I am doing a tour in October, the 18th, New York City, the 20th, Madison, Wisconsin, the 21st, Detroit, Michigan, the 22nd, Cincinnati, Ohio, and the 26th, I'm taping my special in Chicago. Get your tickets at grahamelwood.com. Can't wait to see you on the road. In addition to going to a live show, which is a great way to support the show, and you laugh and there's people there laughing with you. You're not alone. You know, when you watch, you think like, I'm politically homeless, man. I don't like the Democrats. I don't like the Republicans. There's no home for me in America. You come to one of my live shows and you're not alone. You're in a room full of people that all feel the way you do, and you're not alone. It's a cool thing. So go to grahamelwood.com for tickets. And you can also support the show at patreon.com/Graham Elwood, where TE submitted this video, and I want to show it to you. It's really, just to preface it real quick, it's done by this organization that's in Los Angeles that is really trying to see how to make LA a little more sustainable, right? LA, when I moved there in the 90s, its public transportation was pretty abysmal. It's gotten way better. There's a lot of light rail. They've increased the bus systems. They've put in way more bike lanes. It's much more sustainable green city. And there's more people living in LA now who are like, I don't need a car, which was unheard of 20 years ago. So they wanted to test which is better, because LA Metro, which is the government, the municipal government agency that handles all of the public transportation in LA, right? They handle the buses and the light rail. They're starting their own rideshare company, and this YouTube page wanted to give it a fair test. So this video was sent to me by TE, and that's why this is the People's Channel. You guys bring me information that I could never get on my own, so I really appreciate it. And this is what's important to me, because the environment is important to me. We are facing climate collapse, and it's going to take inventive ideas. And I love showing videos of all these cool different ideas out there. And each region is going to be different. What a big city needs is going to be different. What a rural area needs, what a mountain area needs is going to be different from what a beach community needs, and on down the line. But I like talking about it because I like showing that there's good ideas and there is hope out there. We need something real soon, because America just keeps spending more and more money on war, and we're not addressing climate change. The climate bill that just got passed is $378 billion over 10 years. So that's $37 billion a year. That's not enough. And everyone's like, it's the most boldest plan ever. Well, when you've had nothing, like if you're starving, you know, breadcrumbs taste like a 5-course meal. So anyway, I want to show you this video because it's intriguing. And this is from City Beautiful, which is a cool YouTube channel that tries to test all this stuff.
LA Metro beat Uber, the king of awkward conversations with strangers in cars? I wanted to find out, so I pitted them against each other in a competition. I'm taking Metro Micro to Caltech and Uber back to downtown Pasadena. I'll be comparing them on ease of use, time to destination, and price. And of course, I'll be talking about the impact of ride-sharing services on cities because, you know, this is a city planning channel. The first thing I did was book a ride on Metro Micro using the app. The app feels modern and sophisticated, which may not be something to expect from a transit agency, but it's clear that LA Metro is marketing this to Uber users, and it accomplishes that goal. The app does work a little differently than Uber, though. The service is similar to UberX Share, where you carpool with others. The app gave me a time range for pickup, and I wasn't allowed to know my driver's info or see them on the map until I was the next to be picked up. I booked the ride at about 7 p.m. and the app said I wouldn't be picked up until 7:20 to 7:30, and I would get to my destination around 7:45. This is considerably slower than most of my experiences with Uber, save for a few late night pickups in rural areas. It did give me time to stroll through downtown Pasadena though, which was lovely. My ride eventually came closer to 7:40. The app told me the driver was running late, which was nice. When the driver pulled up, there was no one else in the van, but before dropping me off at my destination, we had to stop and pick someone else up. Luckily, they were only a few blocks out of the way. The van was big enough that I didn't really need to interact with the other passengers, and it wasn't awkward. The driver was friendly, and I arrived around 8 o'clock. Now it's Uber's turn. I only had to wait about 6 minutes for my Uber to arrive after booking it, and the drive took 11 minutes, which is substantially shorter than the 20-ish minutes for Metro Micro. But of course, we didn't pick anyone else up on the way back. It was an altogether uneventful Uber ride. Let's look at the scoreboard here for a second. Both services are easy to use for anyone who has ever used a smartphone app. In both cases, you input your destination and the app finds you a driver to take you from point A to point B. I'll have to give the edge to Uber here, however, because the Metro Micro driver was late. Time to destination goes to Uber, though I feel like Metro Micro was extremely quick and efficient given that we stopped to pick up another ride. If I was comparing Metro Micro to Uber X Share, I would have probably given the edge to Metro Micro for its sweet van. Finally, price. As advertised, Metro Micro costs $1, and you can use your transit pass if you have one. The Uber ride was only $7.57, which the app said was lower than normal. The average price is closer to $9. This one easily goes to Metro Micro. So Uber wins, right? Well, I think it depends on your priorities. If you just want to get from one place to another quickly, Uber is a solid option. But if you're someone who cares about things like traffic, carbon emissions, and the fate of urban transportation systems, then maybe Metro Micro is a better option. Plus, it's hard to beat those dollar rides. Metro Micro is so good that I first heard about it from Adam of Adam Ruins Everything. If Metro Micro is so awesome that it won over someone who debunks things professionally, you know it's good. Let's talk about the problems Uber creates for cities and why Metro Micro may be the real future of ride sharing after the bike bell. I went over all the major service differences between Uber and Metro Micro, but perhaps the biggest difference between these two are their parent organizations and their goals. Uber, as well as the competitor Lyft, are private companies and incentivized to make a profit for their shareholders. Metro Micro is a service operated by LA Metro, a public transit agency. They have several goals listed in their strategic plan, but their first is the most obvious and instructive. Provide high-quality mobility options that enable people to spend less time traveling. They just want to move people throughout the area fast. They don't need to generate a profit, as public transit is a public service, just like roads, fire protection, and parks. Does that mean that Metro Micro is better because it's a public service? Well, maybe. Let's do another little competition between Uber and Metro Micro, but this time focus on the overall impact to the region. And let's look at labor first. Metro Micro's drivers are employed by the transit agency and are represented by a union. They get medical and dental insurance, tuition reimbursement, and are provided a vehicle.
Wow.
It's essentially the same job as a public bus driver. You're not going to get rich driving a bus or a Metro Micro vehicle, but by US standards, it's a pretty stable job. Uber and Lyft drivers are not unionized, nor are they considered employees, at least not in the US. They are independent contractors with no guaranteed wages, hours, or working conditions. In 2019, California passed a law reclassifying independent contractors as employees and entitling them to the same workplace protections. And
I would like to add, because I don't know if this guy's going to do it, we've done videos showing how Uber and even Lyft have really tried to crush workers. They've tried to crush the forming unions. They're a big corporation that does not care and extracts, like we talk about on the show, it extracts the driver's labor for their multi-billion-dollar profit. And any for-profit company, that's all they care about. So already it's like, wait a minute. Drivers are not, if I was making my living as an Uber driver, and I would be like, I would go apply for the Metro gig immediately because I want benefits and healthcare and also I don't got to put, 50,000 miles a year on my car. I like this kind of comparison stuff.
Benefits such as a minimum wage, workers' comp, unemployment insurance, and paid family leave. Uber and Lyft spent $200 million, 10 times their opposition, on a ballot measure to exempt them from this law, and they succeeded. The debate probably doesn't make much difference to drivers who appreciate the flexibility of the gig economy, the kind of people who drive a few hours here and there to supplement their income. But for those who do Uber full-time, those benefits are necessary. Uber drivers typically make about $15 to $22 per hour, which must also cover the cost of gas and vehicle maintenance. In larger cities, it's easier to eke out a living due to the larger number of rides requested. Recently, drivers have been making closer to $30 an hour in some cities, as Uber's had to pay more to fend off a driver shortage and compensate for higher gas prices. But this has also contributed to increased prices for riders. Let's look at that scoreboard again. Metro Micro is the clear winner in the labor category. These increased labor costs lead to higher prices, which makes mass transit more attractive to people. This is part of the reason why Uber is trying to replace mass transit, so you'll be captive to Uber and pay whatever they charge. But what is Uber doing to actually replace mass transit? Well, simply operating in cities with mass transit systems has reduced transit ridership. For example, Uber rides in New York went from 60,000 to 600,000 per day between 2015 and 2018. Subway ridership dropped by the same amount in that period.
Man, look at this cable bill.
Oh boy,
Well, what if I
these
told you that
ads.
you could get home internet?
So I like these kind of comparisons because this is the kind of thing we need. We need data and research and information to let us know what is the better option. And again, I'm not trying to take anybody Uber driving away, but if you're if you're a full-time driver, you're better off joining Metro because they're going to pay you better.
Why it saw consistent drops in ridership as Uber and Lyft began operations there. One study found a 9% drop in transit usage as soon as a ride-sharing company began operating in the city. And today, the pandemic has put transit agencies into fiscal crisis as ridership has dropped further. Uber and Lyft are seeking partnerships with transit agencies to replace lines with Uber rides. Transit agencies who had never have considered these deals before are forced to as they can't provide the service they once did. The result will be a less efficient form of transit. Buses and trains can move a lot of people and don't take up a lot of space. When they run at high frequencies and connect destinations people want to go to, they are super efficient and cost effective. Moving one person at a time in a private vehicle with one driver is not efficient at all. But it's better than nothing, which is why transit agencies are considering it. And obviously, Uber wants more rides, and this is one way of getting them. Impact on transit easily goes to Metro Micro. Uber and Lyft degrade transit ridership by competing directly. Metro Micro is run by a transit agency. You can use your transit pass to pay for rides, and the system is designed to complement transit instead of defeat it. Early on in this rideshare experiment, people like me, planners, were hoping that Uber would actually reduce overall reliance on cars. This is because people might, leave their car at home and take Ubers everywhere. One Uber driver could provide transportation for several people, thereby reducing traffic, congestion, carbon emissions, and that sort of thing. But that's not exactly how it worked out. As I mentioned before, many rideshare trips actually replace transit trips, not driving trips. In fact, a study found that half of all rideshare trips replaced walking, cycling, and transit trips, or trips that wouldn't have even been made in the first place. 15% of all car trips within San Francisco are made with Uber and Lyft. All of these new car trips create more traffic. In San Francisco, weekday vehicle delay increased by nearly 70%. It makes sense too if you think about it. A normal trip and return trip is really straightforward. You drive to the store, park, drive home, and park. Those same trips made with Uber require someone to drive to your house first, then take you on the trip to the store. Same thing on the way back. Metro Micro wins at traffic, though it's not immediately obvious why. It's still ride sharing, right? But some of the reasons why it lost in earlier categories means it wins here. It's simply not as convenient as Uber or Lyft, which means it's not going to generate as many rideshare rides as the other competition. It's also just a better complement to transit, in particular areas where transit doesn't already go. Metro Micro fills a gap that transit networks have a hard time with, serving people in low-density, car-dependent areas. By integrating fares with transit and advertising it as an extension of the transit system, it could potentially create more transit riders, reducing traffic. Metro Micro is still in its early days, so it's hard to know if the program has been a success or not. But if it delivers on the goals set forth by LA Metro, I have to believe that other transit agencies would want to implement a similar program, especially if Uber and Lyft keep raising their prices, and especially if Uber and Lyft continue to be kind of shady and sketchy with cities. I haven't really even scratched the surface of what they've done in the past. Did you know that Uber arranged backroom deals with politicians to expand their services in certain cities and likely broke the law when doing it? Or that Uber wants you to book flights, trains, and buses on the Uber app? It sounds like they want to take down all other transportation, not just transit. Or that Uber's impact on the taxi industry has led to bankruptcies and suicides by New York taxi drivers? But now you can actually book a yellow cab in New York through Uber? I learned all of these things and more by reading Morning Brew, a completely free daily newsletter. Morning Brew keeps you up to speed on all of the news and current events you need to know about business, finance, and tech. They do it in only 5 minutes in a way that's more informative, witty, and relevant than traditional news. It cuts through the clutter and gives you what you need every morning. Since you watch this channel...
All right, we need to go into that. But so there it is, man. I think that's really, it's, you know, I was somebody when I first heard about Uber, I liked it. I was a guy who was taking cabs to the airport, and I started using Lyft because I heard they were better with their employees than Uber, not by much, it turns out. And it was like, oh, wow, it was cutting my cab fare to the airport, traveling so much as a comedian, in half. So I'm saving money. And then they got greedy and started upping their prices. And then the cabbies became more competitive. But then I too believed, oh, Uber and Lyft are going to be great because people are going to trade in their cars. No, they're not. That's what the data just showed. That's what the data just showed. And the Metro rideshare integrates with the bus and rail lines, and they just extended the rail all the way out to Westchester, now to LAX, which is, they've been trying to do that for years. So I just came across this channel, and thank you, TE, for sending us this, because this is the kind of information that's very helpful. We need data. We need information. So, you know, I always say this a lot. If you care about the environment, if you can use public transportation, do it. If you can ride your bike, do it. If you live in an area that's not possible. So it's just something to consider, guys. It's another thing to look at and get the information. And I appreciate TE for supporting our show at patreon.com/Graham Elwood, and come see us out on the road, you guys. We got shows in Berlin, London, New York City, Madison, Wisconsin, Detroit, Cincinnati, and Chicago. The whole month of October, we're doing shows. Go to GrahamElwood.com, follow the money connected dots, get the truth, and shave your knuckles for justice. Boom, boom.